Hey Gemini, how's it going? Welcome to a tarot card reading about the unfolding energies in the month of April. Now, in TikTok, I just made a monthly April video as well for you guys, but I did it week by week, like seeing what's going on in every week of your month. And this time, since I've already done that, I thought I would just look at the general energies for you in the month. We'll see what the main theme is that you're going to be dealing with, okay? All right, just a reminder, if you don't know me, my name is Linny, and I like to read historical tarot in the style of Arthur Edward Waite's Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This deck I'm using is called the Animal Oriens Tarot deck, and it is based off of the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So we get into the modern interpretations, the historical interpretations, and the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith interpretations of tarot. Let's get into it. The heart of your reading here, I find, is really interesting. This is the Justice card. Right here, this is a really interesting dynamic, and it typically means that there is some kind of a moment of balance that occurs, something going in your favor even, and it could likely be, with the Moon card before it, it could be this situation that you've been in a state of confusion about, like not just confusion about, but in darkness, looking for an answer, waiting for an outcome to occur. And then the Justice card is here to say, hey, here's the information. It's coming to you in April. You're going to be so aware of it. Like justice and balance. I almost said jalance. That's justice and balance put together. Is restored. Justice and balance is restored to a situation that you felt like you were in the dark about. For some of you, that could show up institutionally because the Justice is a card connected to institutions. Like, think of it this way. Where do you know that you find justice occurs the most? That's in a court building where they call the person making the orders the justice of the peace, right? So for some of you, it could be in the form of court situations, legal situations, but remember, we're thinking the word institutions here from a historical perspective. Again, Rider-Waite-Smith kind of energy, traditional tarot energy. The Justice card could show up in the format of a building that you deal with. Some of you may be dealing with court proceedings. Justice is going to be had in this month of April. Some of you are dealing with your educational facility. Maybe a teacher or your dean gives you some kind of information that balances things out that you were previously in the dark about, right? Some of you will deal with this in your facility, in your office. That's a building, that's an institution where your supervisor or your team lead could all of a sudden hand you some information that feels like balance is being restored. Now, when this comes in with the Two of Wands here, you're going to be put in a particular position of making a decision based on the information that you receive in April. And the decision is, do you stay or do you go? Do you stay on the path that you're dealing with, or do you transition? See, the Two of Wands in history was connected to, and now we're going to get into the Arthur Edward Waite historical aspect, by the way, bit of a history lesson here. The Two of Wands was connected to the concept of Alexander the Great. That particular, emperor in history who conquered and went on to conquer even more. In the Two of Wands in traditional tarot, it's not a picture of birds, although this definitely can give the insinuation of messages and communications coming in connected to this bird imagery. But instead, on the traditional tarot, when it was not a picture of birds, it was a depiction of a gentleman who was looking forward as he stood on top of a battle armament fortress, the things he had to battle through, or in this case for you, the things you've had to battle through. And as he stands on top of this battle fortress, he looks into the future, and in one hand, he has the earth, a globe in his hand, to signal the idea that this man, Alexander the Great, in the image of that original Two of Wands, he's got the whole world in his hand if he wants to. But does he choose to sit in the same area that he's had to push through and battle through? Or does he go on to greener pastures? In front of him, as he stands on top of this armament fortress, I wish I had my traditional deck, it's upstairs, I'd show you the picture, but feel free to go Google it. You'll notice a man holding the earth, right? And in front of him, as he looks forward from where he's standing, there is on one side of him desert and waters that he could travel to if he wanted to. And on the other side of him, there is green pastures, growth and trees and beautiful abundance. There's even a little house on the hills in the background. So he gets to make a choice. And the choice, this is why the Two of Wands became known as the card of the crossroads. It's because the depiction of Alexander the Great was looking at two paths he could go through. And in the words of Arthur Edward Waite in the year 1910, when he published the Pictorial Key to the Tarot, he specifies that the one path towards the desert is being stuck and going forward into a land that would render you some sorrow. So this is one path you could go towards sorrow, stay where you're at, gain nothing, be in a desert. Or you go towards the greener pastures. You go towards the path of growth and the kind of destiny or path that would inspire you, help you build up, right? So it's decision-making time. Which way will you go? I'm sure, according to this, with the Seven of Pentacles, you will make the decision to go on to the location that brings you more abundance. See, the Seven of Pentacles is unique in that the Seven of Pentacles is connected to increasing finances. They call it the card of the money tree. Even on this animal deck, the gentleman, the gentle bird here is sitting on top of a tree with the nest that he wants to build. In traditional tarot, it's a man who's standing in front of a money tree, a bush with all these coins on it. And in order to grow more finances in your life, in order to grow more of what you value, because remember, Pentacles doesn't just have to be money. It can be what you value showing up in the world around you. Some people value money. Some people value cars. That's what they put their energy in. Other people value love. Other people value relationships. You know, those people show up in the three-dimensional world around you. So whatever it is that you value, much like the gentleman or the bird here, on the front of the Seven of Pentacles, you have to choose to nurture that path if you want it to work out. It's unique that we hear the expression that the pastures are greener on the other side of things, right? Let's go to greener pastures, right? Is the grass greener on the other side? But the idea of the Seven of Pentacles is that the grass is greener where you water it, where you pay attention to it. If you want that relationship, you have to nurture it. If you want the best outcome in your finances, you have to make the decisions in line with nurturing it. That's why the bird sits on what he's nurturing, right? So I do think that you will choose to go the path of abundance. You will make the decision appropriately, whatever it is that you do in the month of April. When some kind of information and balance gets restored to you, you're going to take that balance, scoop it up, and onwards to making more abundance. I also want to mention that for Geminis here, the Seven of Pentacles precedes the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles is the card of mastering something. Often the card of education. It's called the card of the student to the master, right? So for many of you, the institution that you're dealing with is in the realms of education. A course that you could take, something you could sign up for, increasing your career because you joined into someone's program, right? It doesn't have to be like totally a school setting, but it could be some kind of way that you're choosing to increase a skill set and you're nurturing that skill set. It's a very creative time for you. I also want to mention, though, that with the Death card here in the reversal, it's unique because the Death card is when something's supposed to end, but in the reversal, it's usually an indication that a person is having difficulty letting go of a previous circumstance. But it's sitting right under the Moon card. So for some of you, you may be holding on to a previous situation that you felt in the dark for or in the dark of. And this is going to kind of sound a little bit unique, what I'm about to say, but sometimes people hold on to old habits, even if they are old, confusing habits, out of comfort. So there may be things in the past that you view as like dark about yourself, or there could be aspects of yourself that you've identified with. As an example, your anxiety. Like identifying with, I am my anxiety. Even though my anxiety is confusing, even though it keeps me in the dark, there's still a part of you identifying with that particular identity. Some of you, it might be a creative identity. Others of you, it might be because you call yourself a teacher or you call yourself an artist, whatever it is. It's going to be under a topic of identity, and it's going to be under a topic where it's surrounding your confusion. So if you are not confused about, the art you make, then don't worry, it's not that topic. It'll be another one where there feels like there's almost this looming energy, this looming darkness. And for some reason, it feels like you could be holding on to that as a part of how you experience life on that, whatever that topic is, whatever it is that you're confused about. Another way to say this, to kind of get it a little bit more clear when it comes to the Death card and the Moon card, is like sometimes we go through situations that are confusing to us and we just assume that it will always forever be confusing. So we accept the identity that, oh, that thing's really confusing. It's all that's going to be. Sometimes we even deal with love situations or relationships or friendships or family. And we're like, my grandfather's always going to be like that. Or my father or my best friend, they're always going to be like that. They're always going to be elusive and confusing. If it's not an identity that is like in you, like, oh, my anxiety is always going to get the best of me, right? Then it could be someone outside of you that you're painting under a certain dark light. And the death card in the reversal, because that's you hanging on to the darkness, you might make room a little bit that the person or the situation or the identity that you're holding on to doesn't actually have to be that dark. That it may be something that, yes, occurred in the past for you, and you have had a lot of connection to this anxiety or this person or yourself in a certain way, but that those previous situations don't actually mean you are destined to go through that forever. We have a very ever-evolving scape of humanity. Like, from the last 20 years, people didn't even understand what the concepts of love languages or the idea of self-reflective work or half of the diagnoses that have come out there in the world. We didn't understand that 20 years ago. And in the next 20 years, there will be other avenues of healing and help and understanding that increase. So if there is a part of your identity that you think is like unfixable, it'll always be dark like that. Just give yourself a little wiggle room, right? Or with this justice situation, if you've been in like okay, the laws will always be the same, the courts will always be the same. I doubt that. Nothing hardly ever stays the same over a long enough time frame. I'm just making note to that because it has me wondering why you would be resistant to confusion, or why you would be resistant to something that's in a state of confusion. Like, who wants to hold on to confusion and darkness and be like, oh, it's going to be here forever? No, I don't think it's going to be here forever. And I think if the universe is warning you not to hold on to that identity or that view of a situation or the view of the institutions, if you're stuck holding on to that, eventually when it breaks away, you're going to be positively surprised that things don't usually stay the same. And then you'll look back at it and you'll be like, why did I hold on to this view of myself for so long? Or why did I hold on to this view of other people for so long? Why did I just accept that it was always going to be blah and confusing, right? So just a heads up. If the universe was like, you know what, go ahead, keep holding on to it, then I would tell you that. But in this case, the death in the reversal insinuates the earlier circumstance, not to necessarily hold on to that vibe or that view. I am going to leave you guys off with that. No, my children have joined me down here. You can hear them cackling in the background every now and then. And I just want to say, if you are interested then in a private reading, feel free to get a hold of me. If you like my style of tarot, if you love the historical aspects of how I treat tarot, feel free to book a reading with me. My earliest readings are only $20 for any 2 questions that you have. You can find that in the information in my bio, or you can also find my TikTok in my bio. Like I said, your other readings on life, on love, on finances, on the month of April and the month of March are already uploaded for you on TikTok. So I will talk to you later, guys. Thank you very much, and ciao for now.